Welcome to this complete self-improvement guide. A quick note before we start. I created this guide with the intention of a podcast. You can listen to this guide and you don't have to watch the screen. It doesn't matter if you are doing sports, you need distraction while cleaning the house, or you want to hear my voice while falling asleep. So let's get started. What actually is self-improvement? Self-improvement aims for personal improvement, which you achieve through your own actions. And with that, we jump to the crucial point. Your own actions. Self-improvement means taking action. You can read countless books on the subject or watch hundreds of videos. Your life will only change if you become active yourself. Since this point is very crucial, I repeat this whole thing again. This guide will only provide any value to you if you really want to become active. You are always the active part. This also means that you are responsible for everything yourself. Of course, there are situations over which you have no influence, but you are responsible for how you react and to act in these situations. Let's say you are in a car accident. Another person carelessly and accidentally bumps into your side. How do you react? Do you get angry and swear at the other person? Or do you stay calm and you try to communicate normally? Maybe the other person is completely shocked or even desperate. Can you control your anger and even calm the other person down? Or do you not have your emotions under control? You insult the other person and the whole situation escalates? Yes, you can't do anything about the accident. It was by no means your fault. But it is up to you how you react to exactly these situations. That you have to take action and that you are responsible for all your actions are already two of the 4 cornerstones in this self-improvement guide. All further content will be based on this foundation. If you've dabbled in self-improvement, then you've probably heard of it before. You should start by making your bed or cleaning up your room. And to understand this statement, we must first learn something about ourselves. Our body is remarkable. When we are active in sports, our body builds up muscles in order to be able to handle the next physical challenge. When we learn a new language, connections are made in the brain that makes it easier for us to learn. But what happens when we no longer need these things? If you stop exercising, your muscles will break down again. If you learned a language at school but you no longer use it afterwards, you will largely forget this language again. Unfortunately, it's the same with all of our skills. If you used to be active in sports and now want to do weight training again, then you can no longer lift your old weights. Instead, you find yourself back at the beginning. You have to slowly work your way back up. Many people who are starting their self-improvement journey find themselves in a similar situation. They are dissatisfied with their life. They have often given in to the comfortable temptations of everyday life for a long time and no longer carried out difficult and even challenging tasks. You have literally forgotten how to be active and disciplined, especially when there are activities that we don't want to do and are outside of our comfort zone. As already mentioned, one cornerstone of self-improvement is being active yourself. But our discipline, that skill is back to level 1. And this is exactly what needs to be trained. But how should we best train a weak muscle? With easy challenges. Have you ever tried building an exercise routine? The first week you go to the gym 5 times. The next week it's just 2 sessions. And then the third week you are laying back on the couch. Maybe you weren't physically active before and it was just too much. So you overwhelmed yourself. But maybe you just didn't meet your expectations and the initial motivation has disappeared. There can be many reasons why you stopped exercising. But one thing is for sure. You will quit when 2 things aren't there. The first thing is the lack of discipline. The second is when something severely under or overwhelms you. That's why you should start with tasks that are just outside of your comfort zone. This is exactly what tasks like cleaning up the room or making your bed are intended for. These are tasks that you don't like to do, but which are necessary. They need a little effort and slowly they build up your discipline. And very important, they come up regularly. You do not build your I don't want to, but I will do it anyway muscle by doing one-off tasks. You won't get a bigger arm if you do biceps curls just once. In order to improve yourself in the long term and permanently, regularity is important. It is the numerous repetitions that add up and train your discipline in the long term and thus change your life. As the saying goes, you don't gain weight between Christmas and New Year's, but between New Year's and Christmas. Building new habits, incorporating new routines into your life, and changing your own identity. They all take one thing, repetitions. With that, we have our 4 cornerstones for this self-improvement guide. Let's summarize. You are responsible for your own self-improvement journey. No matter what kind of obstacles are put in your way, you are responsible for how you react on them and ultimately how you act on them. Second, the active actions are necessary. If you are always thinking and never taking actions, then you are dreaming about your life, but you don't live it. Thoughts by themselves do not have the power to change your life. You are not your thoughts. You are what you do. Additionally, you are not an athlete just because you went to the gym just once. In order to identify yourself with something, it depends on the repetitions. Prepare yourself for a long self-improvement journey. It's not a sprint to the next couch, it's a marathon that demands a lot of discipline from you. Now, let's jump to the more practical part. Making your bed and tidying up your room is a great start, but it will not be enough for you if you want to change and to improve your overall life. Which habits should you be focusing on? For the answer, I want to introduce you to a proverb. A healthy person has many wishes. A sick person has only one. Your number one priority should be your own health. The time you invest in your health now, you will not have to invest later in illness and at the doctor. I divide health into physical and mental health. Since we have already had so many athletic examples, let's jump to the physical health first. We humans used to be hunters and gatherers. Our body is made to move. But today we move from our bed to the car. We drive to work. We sit there in front of a screen for 8 hours straight. Then we drive back home in the car again. We sit in front of a screen again. And late at night we drag ourselves from the couch to the bed just to repeat the same process the next day again. On average, we humans supposedly look at the screen for 7 hours per day. So there's a good chance that you are also moving far too little. Movement can already be a nice walk through a park, but I really recommend physical activity in form of exercising. With cardio exercising, you primarily train your endurance, your heart muscle, and your cardiovascular system. Strength training makes you grow stronger and train muscles, which has a positive effect on your posture and prevents complaints such as back pain. Stretching serves to maintain your flexibility and also prevents discomfort. In theory, a combination of all 3 variants is optimal. Depending on your fitness level, you can supplement your training here. However, if you are new to exercise, start slowly. Don't overwhelm yourself. To get started, I recommend that you pursue the sports activity that excites you. Did you love to play soccer as a kid? Then get out of your comfort zone and join a club. Do you love jogging through the nature in the morning? Perfect. Then do just that. It doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you do something. However, if you are undecided about what you want to do, then I recommend classic strength training to get your body in better shape. Weight training simply has the advantage that you see results relatively quickly. You notice how your upper arm is growing or how your pants fits better again. You can also see positive changes in the mirror, which results in a positive effect on your self-confidence and your attractiveness. Resistance training itself is very positively reinforcing. Thus, it makes it very easy to stay motivated. For starters, you should do a workout 2 to 3 times a week. Just start with 20-minute units. This makes the initial hurdle a little bit easier. You will exercise more regularly than if you plan a direct 90 minutes workout straight away. Through these regular activities, you will first build up a proper routine and your discipline. Once you feel comfortable, you can increase your sessions bit by bit. For me, exercising regularly is the single most important habit that a person can develop. If you've been working out and you are eating a candy bar afterwards, you feel terrible. So you start adjusting your diet at the same time. This new awareness in combination with the positive effects you have from sports give you new self-confidence. Exercise itself is as effective as an antidepressant drug. It has been proven to reduce stress and to make you happy. I myself reach a kind of meditative state during exercise and I get my head free. Physical activity. Alone, this single habit has the possibility to change your entire life and to get you back on the right track. Exercising therefore stands for physical health. Now let's jump to mental health. The habit I want to encourage you to practice here is meditation. Meditation is a habit that demanded a lot from myself. Personally, I consumed video games non-stop for 25 years. I spent an extreme amount of time in front of dopamine-filled screens. My attention span was... There's a fly. Where was I? Right. My attention span, it was terrible. But it's improving day by day. I've tried meditation several times, but never managed to establish a daily habit. I probably also overwhelmed myself when I wanted to switch off my dopamine-filled brain for 10 minutes in a fell swoop. Luckily, I didn't give up and I kept trying meditating over and over again. Now I can say I have a daily routine and I'm even feeling the first positive long-term effects. 80% of all successful people meditate daily. It is even practiced by Marines to increase efficiency and focus. Scientific evidence proves the effectiveness of meditation. Meditation helps with anxiety disorders. It helps reduce stress, overcome depression, and increase happiness. It promotes positive thinking in general, improves focus, and increases your cognitive abilities. It has been proven that meditation can even change the structure of your brain. If these benefits haven't convinced you yet, then I will share my personal highlight of meditation with you: mindfulness. This is the increased control over your thoughts and emotions. You learn to accept them. They don't affect you as much anymore. Instead, you learn to pay attention and to live in the here and now. For someone who has never had any contact with meditation, this is very difficult to comprehend, for sure. How can simply sitting still and doing nothing have so many positive effects? This question is understandable. Nowadays, we are so busy always doing something that we have forgotten how to just let our thoughts, our mind rest. I want to give you a visual example of mindfulness. Imagine your current presence is a blue sky. You stare at the bright blue sky and you enjoy the sunshine, the present moment. As you continue to stare at the sky, you see a white cloud. You have a thought. You think about the last meeting with a good friend. The thought is neutral to positive and your mood doesn't change much. But there is another cloud, and this one looks more threatening. Very dark, it covers the sun and soon the whole sky. You have a negative thought that you are obsessing over. You are writing an exam in 3 weeks and you're already panicking. This negative thought, it spoils your mood completely, even though you were actually in a very positive mood until now. But if you pay attention, if you are mindful, you will notice that the cloud dissolves again. And behind it, you can see this bright blue sky again. And do you know what? This heaven was never gone. This blue sky and the sunshine was always there. It was just obscured by a cloud, a random thought. a thought that often didn't even occur yet. You worry so much about your future and forget to live the beautiful moment in the here and now. Through meditation, you train precisely this mindfulness. You learn to live in the current moment and to improve the control over your emotions and thoughts. This habit, if done regularly, will have a positive impact on your mental health. But what is the best way to build a meditation routine? I have tried many things myself: guided meditation, simply sitting still, dream journeys, and much more. But the crucial spark jumped over with the app called Medito. This app is great for beginners. There are sessions that slowly introduce you to meditation. There's a daily tracker as well as 30-day challenges. I can only recommend the Medito app if you want to get serious about meditation. And the app is 100% free. Sport for physical health. Meditation for the psyche. There's one more. A third habit that I want to go into more detail. It is the bridge between physical and mental health. It's an activity that everyone, including you, already does every day. And yet many people are so bad at it that the consequence is often described as the pandemic of the 21st century. The habit is sleeping. People who do not sleep enough for a long period of time suffer from sleep deprivation. This is associated with numerous health problems. You have probably noticed that you are in a bad mood because of a lack of sleep. You are cold all day, and if you party all weekend, you are in a poor health at the start of the next week. However, these are only the short-term effects. In the long term, lack of sleep leads to depression, high blood pressure, heart and kidney disease, stroke, weight gain, diabetes, and much, much more. And yet we humans, we don't manage to demand our 8 hours sleep of us every day. Instead, we scroll social media on our cell phones until late at night or play a video game. To build a good sleep routine, I recommend going to bed and waking up at the same time 6 out of 7 days in a week. A sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes, so I schedule 8 hours of sleep for myself. 5 sleep cycles of 90 minutes each result in 7.5 hours. I add 30 minutes for falling asleep and getting up. At the same time, I try not to look at my screen for the last 30 minutes before going to sleep, as to not stimulate my brain with news and light. This will improve your sleep quality. Next, let's talk about good and bad habits in general. In doing so, I refer less to the habits themselves and more to their effect. For example, fast food is super rewarding in the current moment. It tastes great, it is easy to prepare, and it gives you plenty of calories to fuel you throughout the day. But if you consume it regularly, then you will gain weight. Fast food does not contain vitamins, and you are more prone to diseases. A healthy meal, on the other hand, takes more time to prepare, and the salad may not be as tempting as the burger. But your body will thank you for it in the long run. You stay healthy and you keep your desired weight. Bad habits like fast food provide immediate gratification, but overconsumption will have a negative impact on your life. Good habits, on the other side, are often less tempting and more challenging in the current moment. They only show results after some time and effort, but these good habits will have a much bigger and lasting impact on your life. So when we talk about good and bad habits, we are actually talking about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Watching pornography, it's easy and rewarding, but in the long run, however, it can interfere with your relationship behavior and it will never be as satisfying as having a real healthy relationship. It's easier to start a video game and forget about the world around you than studying to get a good exam in like 3 weeks. Pressing the snooze button on the alarm clock repeatedly in the morning feels good because you can sleep longer. But if you regularly wake up around noon, you will feel miserable. It's easy to consume social media all the time. But how do you feel after hours of scrolling on TikTok? Did you find something while scrolling that really changed your life forever? Or was it just for immediate pleasure and, to be honest, a waste of time? I think you know what I'm talking about. Habits that always satisfy you directly will have a negative effect on you in the long run. It's no problem, of course, if you sink into video games for an hour, but if you spend countless hours every day in front of the screen, waiting for something magical to happen to change your life, then I can promise you, it will not happen. The magic word for all activities with immediate satisfaction is called moderation. If you behave excessively, these very tempting activities, they will only make you dissatisfied with your life. Let's take it a step further. Habits with instant gratification can actually become extreme. My video game consumption was definitely far from moderate. It was borderline. My first step in the morning was to start the PC. I was often too lazy to cook, to eat. I ignored friends and family, and at 3 a.m. I crawled back into my bed. It wasn't moderate video gaming for fun anymore. It was an addiction. It doesn't matter whether it's video games, the consumption of porn or social media, alcohol or cigarettes. Habits of instant gratification. They are often extremely addictive and rewarding. The more rewarding these are, the harder it is to back away from them. Do you have a habit that has too much of an impact on your life? Could you maybe even see yourself in my story? Whatever habit it is, for your own personal development, it is advantageous to look at it from a whole thing from a little distance. When was the last week you didn't play games? When you didn't scroll on TikTok for hours? Has it been a while? Then I recommend you that you take a break for just 1 week. Maybe now you say you can handle it easily, but you don't know what to do with your time? That's what every smoker says. I can stop smoking at any time, but I just don't want to. Ultimately, it's up to you. You are responsible for yourself. Do you accept your excuse, or are you disciplined and take action? I can only give you a nudge in the right direction. The decision, that's totally up to you. All activities with instant satisfaction have one thing in common. They release a lot of dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for our motivation and our reward system. Since these activities are incredibly rewarding, since they provide you with a constant flow of dopamine and are always offer new content, other interests quickly become boring. Of course, it is easier and way more exciting to watch YouTube videos in bed instead of reading a book. We have gotten way too used to dopamine. We are literally drowning in dopamine. Thus, a break can be really, really good. I really recommend you to take a week off if a habit bothers you. Watch yourself carefully during this time. A year ago, I would never have thought of writing this guide for you now. All of this only became possible because I became aware of my behavior with video games and ultimately had enough courage to leave them behind. Believe me, even if it sounds incredibly difficult, you won't regret this 1 week break. It's just a week. Afterwards, you can consume it again if you still want to. When I stopped playing, I realized something terrifying. All my friends, they were all gamers. And these weren't necessarily supportive. Your surroundings and those around you have a bigger impact on you than you realize. I lived in a flat share with a gaming roommate. At that time, I had numerous relapses with video games. In the end, I moved out. With the change of environment, it became much easier for me to let go of my compulsive habit. This permanent lure, always being confronted with the topic, it steals you a lot of your energy. And at some point, you become weak and you see yourself in the next gaming frenzy. Looking back, I became much more aware of the influence of my surroundings. The most extreme case was my work on a cruise ship. I worked there for 6 months straight. During this time, I haven't played a single video game for 6 months. On the contrary, I blossomed like a flower in spring. I met numerous people and also my current partner. Among hundreds of crew members, I was named Employee of the Month. But back home, at home my old routine has taken hold of me again. At home, I sat again in a fantasy world for 8 hours a day and more. Your environment affects you more than you realize. It is said that you are the sum of your 5 closest fellow human beings. And that brings us to the next point: your social contacts and your skills. I mention this point so late because you have to be happy with yourself first. If you have mental health problems, if you are stuck in an addiction and you are unhappy with yourself, then you need time for yourself first. You should focus on yourself for now and get your own life under control. And don't make your happiness dependent on other people. Of course, good friends and family can support you right from the start. But meeting new people or rushing into a relationship with all these problems will rarely bring the desired result. However, if you want to improve specifically in this area, then I highly recommend the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book will teach you exactly how to make new friends. It's an all-time bestseller and #1 in many self-improvement book lists. This book can explain this topic so much better than I can. You won't regret it. I am just quite an introvert. My entire life I have always focused on a few friends with whom I can speak about everything. To me personally, this was much more important than having a large community and a large circle of friends. At the same time, I have always been a relationship person with very long relationships and not exactly a party goer to get to know numerous new people. That's just not me. That's why I'm happy to hand these skills over to this book. It can help you so much better when it comes to making and building new contacts. However, I will add one thing in this regard. You can't read the book expecting everything to change and suddenly having lots of new friends. As discussed in the beginning, you have to become active yourself. You need the courage to get into contact with other people. This is again a skill which you can level up. This will be very difficult for you at first, but you get better with each repetition. If you then eventually see a very attractive person, then it will be just another approach that you have already practiced countless times, no matter what you want to achieve. Ultimately, it all comes down to the 4 core elements. You have to become active. You alone are responsible for yourself. Getting better at something takes repetition, and for that you need a good level of discipline over the long term. I hope this self-improvement guide helps you and you have learned something new. Thank you for watching this whole guide. I really appreciate it. And now, get active. Only then something will change in your life. Good luck.